pick one marketing strategy and go hard on that one strategy. So that can be social media, that could be word of mouth, that could be ads, whatever it is, that however you feel like you find clients, focus on that one strategy. Because I see so many beginner photographers that try to do it all, and when they try to do it all, they do nothing. So if you're able to focus on the one thing that works, I know it's like, oh, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So yeah, maybe focus on like 1.25, like fully on Instagram, quarter on word of mouth or something like that. But I really feel like if you're able to get really good at one strategy, that's going to help you multiply your business so quickly.
Welcome to Shoot the Veil, a mobile app made by wedding photographers for wedding photographers to help inspire you to create and equip you to grow. I'm Sam.
And I'm Donnie. And this podcast is about wedding photography as an art and as a business.
I'm so excited for this. Thank you again for coming in. Like, this is such an honor. Like, we're so stoked. I was talking with one of my photographer friends yesterday, and I was like, hey, wait, do you have any questions that I should ask Cassidy Lynne? And she freaked out. She's like, so cool. She's like, you're joking. You're interviewing Cassidy Lynne? I was like, yeah.
I thought about we should post like right now, post on Instagram and see if
just
people like
see
write in the comments.
Ooh.
That's a good idea.
Why don't you take a picture? Do you have your phone?
I could like zoom into the computer.
Take a picture of that.
Make sure I'm smiling or something.
Yeah,
I've had some candidates that are not good.
Word.
Yeah.
Wait, should I actually hold up?
And then we could just say like, what is it? Like you could put like a box, like a question.
Yeah, I guess I could. Okay,
Yeah.
Hold up. I'm going to zoom in. Cute. There we go. That's
Perfect.
awesome.
Funny
Good
that
idea.
we're not in it. It just says shoot the veil.
There's a glare in it. Yeah, it does say that. All right. What should I post it on the
So
story?
you've got 30 minutes.
You've got
type your
30
question
minutes.
for Cassidy Lynne right now.
You just see my phone zoomed in.
What I
I'll
love
just say
about
guess,
that is
please.
sometimes there's like one person that asks like 15 things. You know what I mean?
swear.
Like it'll just
for
be one
sure.
person like spamming it.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. You're like, am I in the wrong thing you posted?
Yeah.
I immediately went and did that.
Yeah?
I had a fresh story on my mind, and I went and ranted.
I haven't looked through them yet, but I
She-
think we've got some good ones.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure we posted one like your craziest wedding story. We posted, I guess, like a couple of days ago. Did you see Hayes' comment?
Yeah.
Like,
This guy and a lady at a wedding got into a little fight, and the guy went and got a tractor. What did he
beat her
drop?
car up.
And like picked up and like dropped the tractor's front through the front window of her car. Like that's only in the South. That was in Louisiana.
oh my gosh.
Don't mess with
so
Louisiana,
redneck.
man.
That's so funny. I love the power of that. Like just
Right.
like I'm not even gonna fight you. I'm just gonna go ruin your car.
I'm going
with
to get my tractor and ram your
Yeah.
car over. Oh my gosh.
I wish I was the kind of guy who has the first thought, wait, I'm going to grab my tractor. Finish that sentence however you want. I just want to be a guy who that's his thought. I'm going
It
to grab my
wasn't
tractor.
even his
and-
tractor, though.
It was someone
It
else's
was
tractor.
supposed to have been used tractor, and he goes and just rams it into the windshield.
Oh my gosh.
All right. I don't know how to work Instagram anymore. Questions. Here we go.
I feel like this is one of those podcasts that we just start. Like we actually started like 2 minutes ago. So all of this is probably in it. So welcome everybody to the podcast. We've got Cassidy Lynne, who you all know is incredible influencer, wedding photographer. She's changing the game for wedding photographers. So you've been listening in. We've been talking for a long time already. So welcome to the podcast. We just want to like kind of roll slow start
Let's
into
do
this.
it. Cassidy, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. I actually was wondering, I was like, did we start yet? Like, should I be careful what I say? I don't know.
We just
Never.
kind of like Brandon presses record, and I honestly don't know sometimes. Are we going or?
That's where the good stuff happens.
I know. It's just however they decide to cut it up. So
Yeah.
That's true.
So welcome. We're
Yeah.
glad you're here. And
So
you
honored.
have lots of stuff that you do on your channels. Why don't you just start at the top, list the places that people could find you and follow you and just jump into that real quick, easy stuff.
Okay, so I am basically on every single social media platform that exists because I'm chronically online. So I am on Instagram. My handle is Cassidy Lynne. Lynne has an E at the end, which Sam apparently didn't know that because he
It's like
names
Anne
this.
with an E, but Lynne with an E.
Yeah. Yep.
So
with an E at the end. TikTok is Cassidy Lynne Photo. What else do I do? Pinterest. Yes, with an E. Always with an E. I'm never changing that because that's literally my name. Pinterest, Cassidy Lynne Photo. YouTube, Cassidy Lynne. So yeah, that's basically where I am everywhere. I have like my website and stuff, but that's just linked through,
there you go.
Socials,
for like the two people who don't know who you are that are watching this podcast, go check her out. We'll have her links in the description. You never know. Cassidy, let's start from the beginning. I want to hear your story. How did you get here? What was the starting point for you? What was that moment when you picked up your first camera? What was the first lens you put on your camera? Like, how did you start?
Yeah. So I started photography, like straight up photography in college. So I'd never honestly even messed around with like a camera before then. I did like, I don't know if you guys would remember like Video Star, like on the iPad Touch or the iPod Touch. It was like an app where you'd like make music videos. Wow. Did you guys ever do that?
Gosh. Yeah. No, but my kids did.
You did.
Sorry. Yeah, that was amazing. I was all over it.
Yeah. So I started with like that. Honestly, I would say like would be my first like camera, honestly, content creator experience was like with my siblings when I was younger.
Oh, yes. Me too.
Yeah. So I picked up my first camera in college. I actually joined the photography team at the college I was going to. And I was one of 4 students. I had literally never picked up a camera before, which is wild. Wow. I was just thrown into it. I was shooting soccer games, concerts, like everything, you name it, people sledding. Yep. And I think it was the college's camera, but I think it was a Canon 60D. And then we basically only used 50 millimeters. So that was what we were given. That was like the only thing we could use. But, it really got me through. Let's see. From there, I ended up realizing I was a lot better at it than I expected. I just picked up it quicker than other people. And some people that had been doing it for years, I was like kind of getting better than them. So I actually was asked to stay like on the team the next year, but as like the leader. So they like hired me on staff to be the full-time photography team like coordinator. And then they hired me as like the campus photographer as well. So I kind of was just thrown into it a year later where I was just shooting everything. And so in the process, I was kind of teaching students how to do photography, also shooting a bunch of stuff, like everything under the sun I was shooting. And during all of that, obviously I'm like kind of doing my own thing. I'm doing portraits of my sisters. I'm, just kind of like doing what I think is fun. I eventually get my first wedding after I think just 2 years of doing photography. And from there, honestly, I know everyone says like, oh, it snowballed, but it really did just snowball. Like once I started going, people started hearing about me. I think I was kind of in the right place at the right time. Like all my friends were getting married. I was in college, so that's usually when people get married. So I just started getting a lot of weddings, and eventually in 2020, COVID hit and everything. And I started posting like photography education videos, because I was teaching the photography team and I was like, I might as well just put this out there. I literally have nothing else to do. So I was doing that, still working for the college. And then eventually I saw my personal business just start to make more money than how much I was making at the college. So then I quit and went full time with my own business while still posting like on TikTok every single day. And I really just started growing on social media. Like, honestly, I wasn't even like fully full time when I started posting. And then I feel like my photography wasn't as good as it could be either. I just was teaching what I knew basically. So yeah, I started growing, and then, that's kind of where I am now, where my social media has grown. And I'm still doing weddings, on the side. Well, like I do it full time, but it's kind of like on the side at this point because I do a lot of like education and stuff. So that is my whole entire story right there.
Yeah,
I love it. So you started posting on it on Instagram and TikTok, and you were just sharing what you were learning. like just some like seems like the goodness of your heart. And that's when I think I found you was in 2020.
Really?
And I was I think I remember following you on TikTok and really starting to see your content then. It may have been 2021. I'm get all the years mixed up, but I do remember it was a few years ago. And I mean, you were just there and just open and sharing all the tips and tricks you found as you went. And it was refreshing to see that. And that's a big, a big part of Shoot the Veil that we try to push. And one reason we're so happy to have you here is because you actively teach and you just give. So thank you for that. I guess another question I wanted to go off of that was, did you find your social media growth to be like something that was automatically explosive, or was it something that you just were consistent with day by day?
I would lean more towards the consistent thing. There obviously are going to be certain pieces of content that will get you large spikes of like growth. So, you know, if a video gets more views than normal, or if it's a particularly valuable video that gets a lot of views, that could, jump my growth a little bit. But I mean, it really was slowly over time. Like it's just been a very slow growth, but growth
that's
nonetheless.
The best kind though. That's so good.
That's cool.
So for anybody listening that maybe wants to do that down the road and grow their socials and maybe they just don't know how to do that, what kind of content do you find that does the best? And is there any like encouraging words you'd give to that person listening?
So the type of content would be whatever you feel is your strong suit. So if you feel like you're really good at posing, that's going to be the video that does best because you're like the most confident in it, So if you're wanting to teach, I definitely would say pick something that you feel like is your strong suit. You'll notice there are things I don't teach on because I am not good at them. Like literally, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm not going to teach on it. So that would be my biggest advice for a piece of content. Either that, or if you're not necessarily trying to teach, the type of content that does well is the stuff that you're able to like analyze after you've done, let's say you've posted 10 videos, whatever one or two types of videos that do well, continue to post those. Like don't, keep doing the same thing and expect different results. You want to keep like refining your content based on what performs well.
Content.
I want to ask a very specific question to an expert.
Go for it.
So let's say there's a few different ways. Let's say you're going to teach about posing. I totally agree. Teach what you know. That's great, obviously. But there's different ways of doing a video. So I want to ask is there one that performs better? So you may have your Ray-Bans on and you're literally just filming back a camera. That's a type of content. There's others where someone's filming you doing your thing and that gets posted, or same thing, except you're editorializing later, telling people, so here's what I'm thinking when I did that, and then this, and then there may be one or two other types, but you could do all of those types, and I've seen them all on your stuff. Do any of those do better in terms of reach and reaction?
The videos that do the best are actually usually the ones that combine all of them. So you're almost like overstimulating your audience. So let's say I am commentating and like explaining something. There's going to be clips that like flash of like the Ray-Ban view and then like someone just filming me shooting. Like there's going to be like a lot of that. I think the best type of content is where the brain like is literally all over the place. Like there's a voiceover, there's also text on the screen, there's a bunch of clips popping up like within the first 3 seconds of the video. That's usually going to be the stuff that performs the best. Typically also a minute longer as well. Like a minute to a minute and 30 seconds is like the best. If it's original content, yes. If you want something to just like go viral straight up, like make it like 10 seconds, obviously. But if you want it to be like a good, valuable piece of content, platforms really push like the minute to a minute 30.
And there's something I've noticed. It's almost a game that people play, or a strategy, I guess, to draw out the payoff for at least a certain amount of seconds. And I'm sure you're aware of that, and you probably intentionally do some of that. And then the algorithm, all it knows, the robot knows, is people watched this for a long time. They stayed engaged. And so it's not really You're not being manipulative, but you're just using the algorithm to your advantage.
And you actually have more time to give value back.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it's probably more appreciated than the 7-second clips. That's good. I learned something new today.
Yeah. I mean, think about like those 7-second clips that like just kind of loop, and it's like a big long paragraph of something and you have to read it. Like those annoy me.
Oh my gosh.
Bad.
Have you seen the ones recently where it's just like the blinking sound and it's over and over and over again? I've watched the reel like 30 times.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That's the type of stuff that at the end of the day is not really going to give you the biggest payoff. Like you're not going to get valuable like people in your community from that. Like you might get reach, sure, which is it is valuable, but you're not going to get people that are like interested
Fans,
in hearing what you have to say. You just kind of baited them into it.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, so going on this track, and we have tons of topics we can hit, but I'm really curious. Is this something you found by trial and error, or is this something like you took a course for, or is this something like you just naturally understand?
So I would say trial and error. Like I said, I'm chronically online, so that plays a big part in it. So my major is in digital marketing. So I do understand like a little bit of like the bigger strategy, bigger picture things. But I think when it comes to social media in general, like there's no course that's going to be completely updated because
it's always changing.
It's always changing. So you really have to just pay attention to what's current, like, and honestly observe yourself as a user. That's what I do. So I'm like, what are my tendencies? What videos catch my eye? What videos make me want to scroll? Like those are all things I think about. And then I basically take those concepts and apply them to my own content.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And so for somebody who's sitting here with, 200 followers and they want to think about how do I get to 200,000, how much work goes into it? Like this is like a real question. I want to know like what your week is like. Are you literally making content calendars and planning out shoots and hiring? Like I want people to understand the amount of effort that you're putting into this job. It's not just accidental.
Yeah. So you can put in as much effort as you want. You can plan shoots for social media and, that might help. For me personally, I found that working in like taking the week in 2 chunks is what I do. Because trends are always changing. You really can't make a trend a week in advance. Like it's just not possible. So what I usually do is I have like 2 days a week where I'm either filming or just creating my content. Doesn't take me long at all. It takes me maybe 2 hours. And 2 hours twice a week. So 4 hours total, maybe a little less, where I'm just sitting down and I'm like, okay, I need 3 to 4 videos at the minimum today. So, so if it's a Monday, it's going to be the video for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe I double post on TikTok on Wednesday or something like that. So I'll do a trend video. I'll do an original audio that's longer than a minute. Maybe I'm doing like a product review, and maybe I'm doing like a relatable, funny video.
Yeah.
So I'll plan all those out, get them ready to go, get them all set, and then I'll post them each, day. And then when Thursday rolls around, I'm like, okay, I need to film some content for the weekend. What do I need to film? So
that's concise. I love that.
Yeah.
It's like so sharp. I love
it.
Right.
There was a point where I was filming content like really far in advance, and personally that just like doesn't work with trends. It works with original audio. So if you're gonna sit down and talk, you can do, you can film months and months in advance. However, the sitting down and talking videos are usually less engaging. So you need to figure out, okay, how can I make that more appealing to my audience?
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm glad I asked that because everybody needs to hear that there's work, intentionality, and even the people that are doing a lot of long form content, because there's a lot of people trying to educate, try to be influencers, whatever, and they're doing a lot of the same kind of thing. And maybe it's the long form, it's the original audio stuff. They need to know that you got to mix it up. You've got to do some of these other things that are more current. You can't just plan a month's worth of content out. That's a big deal.
And I think that's where a lot of brands, like bigger brands, kind of lack, because they just kind of think that you can sit down and film a bunch of content. It's just not, I don't know.
Just a checklist mentality.
Yeah. Yes. You have to really experiment and try out a bunch of different types of content and analyze and see what does well, what doesn't, and like tweak from there. So
okay, heard.
Good stuff.
Got it. That's good.
So switching gears, let's go back to Cassidy and wedding photography. I've got a couple questions I could ask you on that. I guess one that I was curious about is, was there a certain place in your career where you felt like everything kind of took a turning point, like went like really well? Like, was there a decision that you made that like changed everything for you? Was there a moment in your career?
You know, this is gonna sound really dumb, but this is true. When I like actually learned how to edit and I actually switched to a different preset. This was pretty early on in my career, but when I did that, I started loving my photos 10 times more. And I found that I was booking more as well because the style was like more what people were looking for.
And consistent.
Yes. Yeah. And that was a big shift for me because I was kind of just like hodgepodging like a few presets that I found and kind of mixing them all together. And there was things where I would look at it, I'd be like, I don't like this, but I don't know how to fix it. And I think when I actually sat down and learned the elements of like a preset and editing, and then, you know, I did find a preset that I really, really loved. That's when I felt like I saw a shift in my career because I loved my work a lot more. And I think that was a big, big thing for me.
Right on. That's exactly what happened to me. Like I was custom editing everything. And at the time, one of my best friends who is a photographer, we were living together, and he had his preset, and we were in our office together, and he was editing, and he was putting out work so much faster than I was. It was all consistent. His entire Instagram had a very consistent look. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to spend $100 on a creator's preset that I love, and I'm just going to see what happens. And I'm going to let go of the reins of what I think, you know, my style is. And I did that, and immediately, I'm talking within 2 weeks of posting with that look, everything became so consistent on my Instagram, and inquiries started flowing in because I started to have a recognition to my work. And so everything started looking the same. Not only that, and this reminds me of just what I sent a proposal out for a print order for one of my clients yesterday. And when I was talking about it, I was saying, look, the color science of all these images are the same. They all have same characteristics. And when you print these, you can put them up on the same wall and they're going to have a certain look. And you're not going to get that if they're all edited differently, if you throw up different, you know, photos from different photographers. And so keeping the consistency of my images and my wedding photography business was hands down one of the biggest changing factors for success.
Interesting.
That's so cool. You're the first person I've interviewed and talked to that said that specifically. And I've always felt that. So that's cool.
I love that.
And it wasn't like that was like years ago when I was first starting, but I do feel like it really pivoted me into my entire career. You know, if you don't love your work and if you don't feel like your work is something that like the colors line up with what you're picturing, like imagine putting out work and not loving it. Like that's kind of where I was. And I realized it wasn't a shooting thing. Like I was looking for lenses and like a bunch of stuff. It was like literally the solution is something that it's like 4 clicks away. I don't know. It's crazy.
And the amount of time that it saves too.
Right.
Yeah. So crazy.
And it's time that you can then devote to customer service.
Right. It's so good because I knew like if there's one step in this whole process that stays the same, it's how this image is going to be edited. Like the look that I know it's going to have. I know how the whites in my images are going to either be curved or popped. And it enabled me to be more creative on the wedding day because I wasn't questioning what I was going to do to the image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Did you just say jinx?
Yeah, we said totally at the same time.
We did.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
You owe me a Sprite or something.
Okay. All right. I think that's really helpful. A lot of young photographers, new photographers are maybe considering a a preset, how often do you change your preset? Because I know trends are a big deal to you and to everybody, and you're kind of in the forefront of measuring that. Do you see them changing every 6 months, every new wedding season, every year? How do you evaluate that?
So I mean, I change my editing based on like how it feels to me. Based on like literally visually how I'm drawn, I'll change my preset. And it's funny because people would be like, "Oh, like I want to change my editing, but like I don't want my clients, like, I have clients and I'm afraid to change my editing because they're expecting one look." I have changed my editing so many times. I have not told my clients, and it's just like I just change it. And no one has. I've had one person say, "Hey, can you edit with this look instead?" And I've been like, "Sure." And that was like pre-wedding, so I already knew like that to expect. Within my time doing photography, let's see, I started like I would say my honey boba presets I developed in like 2020-ish. In that amount of time, I've seen, I would say like I've seen it shift from like gold, really, really golden, like orange yellow edits to like a more natural look. And I feel like in between that shift, there was this middle ground of like still pretty concentrated edits, but the colors were more true. But it was like the actual exposure editing was a little bit more concentrated. So it kind of shifted from golden to like concentrated, but still true to color now. And then just like a lot more subtle of an edit plus true to color. So I feel like there's kind of been like those three different things I've noticed since 2020. So, I mean, I guess it does shift, I would say within like a year or two, I do feel like things shift slightly. However, I think now that we're shifting into a super subtle edit, I don't see it shifting far from that. I see it, kind of pivoting slightly in different ways, like maybe some things with the blues or whatever. But for the most part, I don't think we're going to see a huge pendulum shift like that for another couple years, just because that shift was so drastic.
And if you have a good preset, by the way, anybody's listening, go check out her presets. Go to CassidyLynneEducation.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Go check them out. Go get some presets. When you have a good preset, you can easily manipulate it, and it kind of it's a fluid change over time. So we're looking at this new trend of wedding photography, and it's not so much super warm anymore. It's a little more classy, a little more elegant, a little cooled off. The skin tones aren't orange or whatever they may be. They're a little more cool. And so when you have a good preset, the DNA of the preset can stay the same with making minor tweaks. And so maybe your curve bar may stay the same the whole time. And, when you have a colorist like Cassidy Lynne, or you go check out Greg Peterson, who knows us very well, you can make subtle changes and have the same DNA preset over the course of years, which I've done. I've had the same one since 2021, and I've done minor tweaks to it over the course of these past 3 years, and it stayed the same. So I've had a consistent contrast, a consistent white pop or curve, but then the temperature of the image and skin tones of the image can be changed without completely and drastically changing the color science of the image.
I want to make a point too that you could have, let's say you have 3 or 4 that might be your go-to. And like you said, Cassie, you have like, I'm feeling it for this wedding. I'm feeling it for this shoot, kind of going this way. There's something really important that you brought up, Sam. When you display all of the images for that couple, that's where consistency matters. But you could have differences between weddings. But when that couple looks through their images, they shouldn't see that you changed presets, that you suddenly, these are all really blue and these were really warm.
Right.
It should be able to hang together or be presented together, or even just scrolled through if you just think digitally, and it doesn't feel like shocking.
Yeah. Something that I've started doing is taking my preset and shifting it to look like film. So I currently use my Satin Summer presets and shifting them to look basically exactly like a film photo, and throughout my galleries I'll throw in a couple like film edits because I think it kind of like captures a different feeling than my other presets, and it depends on the photo and like how it's taken and all of that, but I'll do probably 5 or 6. It's kind of equivalent to like me throwing on a black and white. I'll throw on like a film edit throughout just to kind of like add some variation. Yeah. And a lot of the times it'll be for like a detail shot or like a super wide. It's not going to be like my classic shots that I'm doing. It'll be like kind of like those blurry ones or like those candids that were just taken, you know, like it'll be something that's a little bit different to kind of like set apart that specific photo. I find that that's just kind of fun, and it's a way to keep your creativity sparked, because a lot of the times it can feel really mundane. You know, if you shoot a bunch of engagement sessions or a bunch of weddings, it can feel like the same thing over and over. So I like to challenge myself and have some fun within the gallery to kind of change it up a little bit.
Right.
We did, to keep a balance with that, one of the things that we did, this may be fun to bring back, is we had a separate gallery, almost like a separate part of the gallery where the artist was having fun. And we would give them their whole wedding, let's say in color with a common look from start to finish. That would probably be most of what they would consider that's their official collection. And then if they get printed or if they go in the album, it would all look good together.
Yeah.
But then we would have another collection that we would give them and say, we were so inspired by some of these images. They felt like it was a special extra bonus that we don't do for everybody.
Yeah.
But it was to accommodate what you just said, where we could play with different things, different looks, different exposure levels. Like we could play with all the stuff, and just, it became a way to, we just cloned them. We just said, we're gonna make a copy of those 10 images, and we're gonna play with those.
Yeah, that's so cool. So they feel special because the artist got to be an artist.
Yeah.
With their memories.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was fun. They loved it, and we got to explore. We would never deliver a whole film noir looking wedding collection, but some images just feel like they should be.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna turn the blacks like crazy levels. I'm gonna turn the whites all the way up, and just play with that when you feel inspired. It gave us an outlet for some of that creativity.
That's so good.
Yeah, and that's super important for just avoiding burnout, honestly. It's just making sure you keep the root of it all. Like, why are you taking photos? Just to bring yourself back to that every once in a while.
It sounded like you said roux. Did you say root of it all, or roux?
Root, yeah.
Yeah, it just reminded me, today's podcast is sponsored by Roux Clothing. What is
a nice little pop in there, Donnie.
Wow.
Our graphic designer, Ben, has his own clothing line. It's called Roux, and it's so edgy that you can't buy it anywhere.
Let's go.
If you come here, you might be able to buy a shirt off his back.
Boom.
So
great pop in.
Did you hear me say root, or were you trying to segue?
It was really just trying to segue.
Okay.
That's so funny. Cassidy, switching gears again, what was a piece of advice that you got that you can remember that was just like something that stays with you to today? Favorite piece of advice, maybe I should say.
Yeah. So I had this girl that worked in she was kind of like head of graphic design while I was doing photography at the college that I went to, and she was way more successful in her business than me, and so I really looked up to her as a mentor, and I would just ask her a million questions. And her big thing, I would go to her with tons of scenarios, like, we've got this couple saying this, or I don't know if I should book this, whatever. And she would always say to me, go with your gut. What is your gut telling you? That's what I think you should do. I would be like, I just don't feel like this is a good fit for me. And she'd be like, that's your gut. Don't do it. And I think that's really helped me, not even within photography, shooting and stuff, but it's also helped me with the brand side of things. Just going with your gut. And, if something doesn't feel right, don't do it. If you don't feel like it aligns with what your goals are, don't do it. That's been something that really stuck with me. My mom tells me that too all the time. Just, make sure it feels right, because you don't want to get stuck in something that just doesn't sit right with you. Because there's going to be opportunities. Everyone is presented with opportunities you can say yes or no to. And it's just making sure you're saying yes to the right things so that you're not stuck in something that doesn't match up with what your end goal is.
So good. That reminds me, there's a couple weddings every year that I wish I just didn't take, and I knew that from the front end. And if you're my client watching this, no, that's not you.
That's totally not you.
No, it's not you. And it bugs me. It bugs me all year long. and maybe because the connection wasn't right, or I just maybe felt like I couldn't deliver what they were looking for. And it ends up stealing joy from all the other weddings because I'm not being true to myself. Yeah. And so that's a great piece of advice.
It just, it'll start affecting other areas of your life too. Like you said, you think about it all year. That's literally crazy because like a year of your time versus an 8-hour wedding day. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
It just seems like a no-brainer to just follow your gut. So yeah.
Well, amazing. Okay, let's go through a little like quick questions. I want to hear about your tech deck. What do you use from day-to-day stuff like CRM, editing, AIs? What do you use?
Okay, so I use HoneyBook for my CRM. I have been using Aftershoot to cull and actually now edit my photos. I'm still working on getting it to like set up a profile for my new preset. I have to like I'm still working on
calibrate it. Yeah.
So it's kind of that's been a little bit of a process right now. Let's see, what else would be what part of my tech deck? I mean, I use what's
your photo gallery send out software? That's a lot of words.
PicTime.
There you go. Okay. Amazing.
Let's see. I use like Flowdesk for my email lists.
Yeah.
Tailwind for Pinterest. That's something
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that's
we'll have to dive into that on the after the pod. I want to hear more about your Pinterest strategy.
Okay, yes, that's a good thing to dive into.
That's a big thing. I've been hearing a lot about that. My friends are like, "Are you guys marketing on Pinterest yet?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, we're gonna save that one. We're gonna talk about it in the next episode because that's a big deal.
You know what I want to talk about? Also, you mentioned Flowdesk. I want to talk about what you're doing, not now after the pod. I want to talk about all the deeper strategies for communicating with your email list.
Ooh,
sure.
That's a lot to
That's
unpack.
a lot. Yeah.
If you want to take it to a deeper level, that gets very intricate into your business strategy. So and I think a lot of photographers are good at photography, maybe not as good as at business.
Yep.
And so that's the important stuff.
100%. Okay. Go-to camera, go-to lens. What you got?
So right now I'm shooting on the Sony A9 II. I would love to get the Sony A9 III soon, which is they have the universal
is that the global shutter?
Yeah. So, we're saving.
Yes.
And then my 24-70 has been my absolute go-to lately. Like I tried to shoot a session like a week ago. I was like, I'm bringing a 50. I'm only shooting on a 50 the whole time. I'm like, Cassidy, you're reliant on this zoom lens too much. I did one pose with the 50 and then I switched to my 24-70. I was like, it just doesn't make sense why I wouldn't use this. Like I can get all my shots within like 3 seconds with a 24-70. So that's been my go-to lately and I will stand by it.
Mm-hmm.
People can go look at your Instagram and see your camera bag setup. But for those who haven't, what's in your camera bag?
So I bring always 2 cameras with me because, just in case something happens to one. Yeah. And, obviously we're bougie. 24-70, usually a 35 as well. I always bring a flash with me as well. I bring a Godox V1 flash.
Nice.
I just like literally sitting on my front porch is the Godox V1 Pro flash and I haven't tried it yet and I'm about to
wait, I just bought the V1. There's a Pro?
It just came out this year. I didn't know.
Oh my gosh.
So it's new and so I'm trying that. What else do I bring? I bring like a star point filter and that's for my 35 millimeter. That's if I like want to mess around with flash a little bit.
Ooh.
And I mean, besides that, I'm a basic girl. Like I like to do it all with like one camera, one lens if I can. So
nice. I love it. Okay. As we kind of wrap up this podcast, what is one piece of advice you would give to the new photographer who's wanting to scale their wedding business?
I would tell them to pick one marketing strategy and go hard on that one strategy. So that can be social media, that could be word of mouth, that could be ads, whatever it is, that however you feel like you find clients, focus on that one strategy. Because I see so many beginner photographers that try to do it all. And when they try to do it all, they do nothing. So if you're able to focus on the one thing that works, I know it's like, oh, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So yeah, maybe focus on like 1.25, like fully on Instagram, quarter on word of mouth or something like that. But I really feel like if you're able to get really good at one strategy, that's going to help you multiply your business so quickly.
Good word.
And you don't need 1,000 weddings. You need 20.
Yeah.
30. Yeah.
Exactly.
So killing it in one lane is that's smart. Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Good word. Niche down. Cassidy, thank you so much for your time and taking time out of your day to hop on this call. I'm super excited to kind of dive deeper into some more business logistics in the After the Pod. So if you're a member, hop over to the app, or you can watch our After Pod with Cassidy Lynne.
Hold on. Before you
go for
it. I love it. Is there anything on Instagram
I have not checked.
Check
Why don't we save that for the After the Pod and we'll see what we got?
Okay. That's cool.
All right.
Let's do it.
So if you're a member, jump over to the After the Pod. You'll see all the cool stuff that people just asked on Instagram, as well as her tech deck, a little deeper dive into how she actually runs her business.
Amazing.
Cool.
Cassidy, thank you so much. We'll see you in a minute.